What's up, college football fans and Mean Green fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. And tonight I'm joined by Miles as we're going to recap the Northwest game as well as preview a little bit of the SMU game for next week. But guys, before we get into all of that, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football recruiting, the G5 football world, the transfer portal, or any or all of the above, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, if you happen to agree or disagree with anything that we say here on the show, let us know what you think in the comments below. All that stuff really helps this channel get picked up and helps the channel grow significantly. So every little bit helps, and we appreciate the engagement. All right, Miles. So here we are. It's officially football season. It's not about to be. We are post week one. Coming off a good win from Northwestern State, from a points perspective at least. And, how's your headspace been? I know we were talking during the game and we were, exchanging some words that we'll keep between ourselves. But how are you feeling since the game has ended?
I feel a little bit better. There was a lot of good signs that we had, and I think that we have more positives than we have negatives. There's a lot of guys that have vastly improved over the offseason. We've seen the Murphy twins on the outside. Katie Davis continue to grow even better than he was. We saw Jace Reuter, who hadn't played a whole lot in the past few years, kind of shake off the rust and get more confident. And I can tell that he possesses the talent and confidence to keep on elevating his game and the program. Someone compared him to Mason Fine. I don't know why, but I feel pretty good. I think after that game, it was a little bit like a disappointment, because we've expected FCS teams to we blow them out, and we didn't quite do that today, but or on Saturday. But I feel like it was a solid enough performance that we could definitely compete in this conference. Even next week against SMU, I think we can definitely still put up a fight. Because it's a rivalry game, and SMU's even embracing it. So we definitely have we have a chip on our shoulder. A lot of those guys have a lot of potential to even be better than they were last year. I'm just excited to see what they have going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we even get into Northwestern, a little bit of pregame. I want to run down a little bit. It was my first time I was able to make it to one of Will's tailgates, and although I didn't have it while it was fresh, I had one of his infamous jalapeno poppers, and man, it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I had the opportunity to talk with Christian Lee, right? The tight end.
I think his parents.
Yeah, Christian Lee's father, as well as Jake Roberts' father. Christian Lee's dad played at Baylor. Jake Roberts' dad played at Marshall, as well as his mother. So, we got some really good genetics in that tight end room, and we gotta, and hopefully they both have younger brothers that are freshmen in high school right now. So hopefully we can, land some more some legacies there. So that's exciting, and just really good to see a lot of the fans out there excited about Mean Green football, and I hopefully there's a lot to be excited about. So, kind of jumping into the game, the Northwestern game. The good and the bad, I guess. So we held them to 14 points. It may have not as looked as pretty as we wanted it to, but at the end of the day, they only scored 14 times. And you and I had both said if we kept it 21 or under, we'd be happy. So, we kind of have to be happy with that. Just the not allowing them to score, 20 points, 30 points or whatever, like FCS has done to us in the past, FCS schools. So that, got to kind of chalk that up as a win. It may not have looked as clean or as straightforward as we would have liked, but at the end of the day, the scoreboard is a scoreboard, and they only scored 14. Something that's kind of concerning, and I'm not sure if you've run this down yet, but do you have any idea how many rushing yards they had?
I know how many yards they had in total. It was 418. I'm pretty sure they had like 200 something rushing yards.
260 rushing yards, yeah.
Oh,
So that's not great. That's not good for an FCS school. So that's a little concerning. So hopefully we can correct that our run defense, quickly and whatnot. But what did you see? Talk to me about the defense. What did you like? What did you not like?
I felt like that they were more in position. They were more ready, I like prepared. Because you have a coach like Bennett who can really get those guys prepared, and he had a full off season this time. Last year they didn't have a full off season. I still don't think that's an excuse for how bad they played last year, but they still looked way more in prepared in place. It's just a little bit off. Like Davis and Grayson Murphy were just so close of deflecting the ball or getting a sack. They were just so close. So I mean, they're there. They're showing a lot of progress. It's just the big plays, and that's been a problem I think forever. Is allowing the big plays. They allow the 165-yard touchdown run by Scooter. They allow the other one that was a broken play by Quinn Whitlock. Um, it's just the big plays have always been a killer. And next week, I mean, we're playing against a team that thrives off the big plays. And SMU, Mordecai threw 7 touchdowns um, in their win last week. So they have to really. They didn't really show, mainly in the secondary, that they were talented enough. But I still think the defense has been so far coming from last year. It's just impressive to see how. I mean, because they have the talent. They had the talent to do it. They just weren't in the right place. They weren't. I don't think they're coached very well. With a coach like Bennett, the defense is looking much better, and I expect a lot of great players like Katie Davis and even Deshaun Gadding, guys like that, to really make a big impact in this coming few weeks and mainly in conference play.
Yeah, absolutely. One person who I would like to see more, and obviously we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I would like to see a little bit more Upton Stout. I feel like he's too good to not be in the mix more. I'd like to see him a lot more. He's very young, and obviously this game coming up with in SMU, I think not only him but anybody who's out there at DB is going to struggle at times, but I would like to see him more in the mix personally. Just I think he's just too talented to keep by the wayside, in my opinion. And also our defensive line, I still think they're top notch,
Mhm.
but I want to. I want to see Dion Noville from Southern Miss. In that game, he was on. So we know he has that in him. And Southern Miss, I mean, they may not be the greatest team in the conference, but they're better than an FCS school, and he had a better game against them than he did against Northwestern State. But again, we don't know what goes into the intricacies of that, and I wasn't paying attention too much to how many times they were double teaming him or not, or maybe scheming him as far as running, to where he's not and stuff like that. But again, just with his potential. Granted, he is a DT, so it's a lot harder to have bigger plays at that position as maybe it would be as at defensive end. But I'd like to see a kind of a highlight play here or there, a little bit more from a guy like Dion Oville, who is immensely talented. And the Murphy twins, I think they played really well. Just kind of would like to see a little bit more finishing there. But again, even though if they don't get a sack, a hurry is a hurry, and that's disruptive. And I feel like they did a good job disrupting and preventing the QB from going through all the reads and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of stuff to take away that are positives going forward, but we know we're about to be tested here in a few days. So moving things over to the offense, what surprised you? What did you like? What did you not like?
Well, what kind of surprised me was just how much we put on the run. I mean, I know it slowed down. It really wore them out. It looked like their tactic was just to wear them out after the first half. First half was more like just test down the field, seeing what we got. Second half, it was just like we're gonna run the ball into the ground. We're gonna run them into the ground. Um, that was kind of surprising. I was thinking we would see more of Reuter and more of Ani. We only saw Ani have I think it was like 6 or 10 attempts. It was a really low number.
5
And
attempts.
he had 5 attempts. Oh shoot, okay. He was like 2 for 5. Is that right? With
Yep.
uh-huh. Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of surprising we only saw him a little bit. I was thinking we would see him a lot more, but that's also, I mean, we just ran the ball so much. I mean, Port had 25 carries. Guys like Isaiah Johnson and Ragsdale had at least 15 per. Um, and it's just, but also that's also shows the depth issue that we do have running back. But That was kind of surprising. I think the thing that was very exciting is seeing Rod Burns pan out to be what Seth Luttrell said. You know, Seth always talks up players, and most of the time he's right. And he talked up Mason Fine when in 2016. So it was really exciting seeing Burns make some great plays. Had that beautiful touchdown catch in the back of the end zone. Great pass by Reuter too. Thing I didn't like was really well, I know that it was a FCS game. People were kind of injured and all that, but we didn't see a whole lot of Shorter or Simpson or Thompson. We only had two receivers, real receivers, get reception. So it was just kind of weird seeing that. I know it's the first game and some injuries might have occurred, but that was something that I didn't like as much because they're going to be going up against some physical defensive backs next week. A weakness in SMU's defense is the secondary, is the safeties. So if we can exploit on that, that's a big piece of what we have. But I was expecting to see more Shorter and Simpson. I get kind of why Shorter because coming off the injury, but it was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I I agree. I think what was a little perplexing to me is we were playing our starters like till halfway through the fourth quarter, and I was kind of thinking we were going to see Ani second half. And I talked with Tony a little bit at halftime. Is like, hey, you think we're going to see Ani second half? He says, no, I think we're going to ride with the Reuter, and he was right. And maybe that was due to the fact of they just want to get Jace Reuter snaps. I mean, it's been a long time since he's played in a game, and I think it's his first collegiate start, if I'm not mistaken. So every rep is
He's only
important. And
played 2 games.
yeah, there you go. So, and you know what? I'm kind of for it. I mean, he didn't have the best game in the world, but if we're gonna go with him, then okay, And this SMU game, whether it was Ani or Reuter, I mean, we'll get into that in a second. But I'm not, let's go with a guy for a few games, and if it's just okay, this guy's just not the answer, then maybe look to do a switch. But I kind of like it looking back that they stuck with him that long at least. But I was a little perplexed of, man, they're running Torrey like this is the bowl game. Like, this is the last game of the season. I was like, dude, like, this is game one. He's punt returning. He's kick returning. Let's get Isaiah Johnson or Ikaika Ragzel. Let's get them. Let's maybe cut Torrey's runs in half, at least for this game, this past game, because we're going to need him down the road and get these younger guys more reps and try to get them into a bit of a rhythm. But they were feeding Torrey, and he produced. I mean, he put up 244 yards on the ground, just rushing alone and 3 touchdowns. So I mean, those are great numbers, even if it is an FCS school. Reuter came in. He was 10 for 21 for 131 yards, 1 TD and 2 INTs. Again, kind of working out some of that rust, I'm sure. One thing that was interesting, and I'm not complaining about it by any means as far as Reuter's gameplay. But one time he did take off and he took a hit. He didn't slide. And I was, oh God, I'm not trying to see him go down too many times. But when it was a pass play, it seemed like he was looking to pass, which again is a good thing. I don't want him to just do one read. It's not there, take off. I feel like we had that more in Jason Bean. And I just don't think that's just not going to work against a UAB, a Law Tech, or really any, Conference USA school that's worth their salt. So I mean, I'm very, very glad to see that he wasn't doing that. I mean, he was back there to pass the ball, but he's such an athlete that again, I don't want to see him take off. But when he did take off, he has burst. He has like just that 1-2 step. He's I mean, he's turning over already. So that just might be something he could do as far as like extend the play a little bit, escape the pocket a little bit. Again, I don't want to see him, rushing, running the ball 10 plus times by any means, but he does have the ability to make defense respect his legs, and which could, potentially open up some passing lanes. So it'll be interesting how that plays out. But, I'd rather see what we saw from him trying to pass the ball than just take off and, rush for 100 yards on an FCS team. So again, I'm glad with what we saw from him. And again, we'll see how he fares with SMU. And if it's not a great game, I'm not off the Reuter train. by any means, or if Ani was in there and he had a bad game against SMU. I mean, again, we'll touch on that here in a second. Receiving wise, yeah, we Burns really busted on the scenes out of kind of nowhere for 6 receptions, 114 yards, and a touchdown. And we had Old Faithful Pirtle, with his 2 receptions for 28 yards, and Tommy Bush 2 for 21. Torrey had 1 for 12, and then Jake Roberts had 1 for 7. Jake Roberts obviously had one drop in the game that should have been caught. That would have been, I don't know how many yards that would have been, but probably at least another 7. But still really high on Jake Roberts. This is his first real action, receiving an actual game. So there's probably going to be some rust that needs to be shaken off too. And but I think he's still, man, just the potential with Jake Roberts in the passing game is there, and I'm excited to see more of it. So, but
I mean, that
all
whole
that being
tight end room is there's just so much talent. I mean, you have guys like Varkeus Gums, who's obviously he's very young, and it's hard to kind of see him in the action right now. But I mean, guys like you have Pirtle, who's very reliable in all situations, and when you have guys that can really support the younger guys, it really helps them. And I feel like that's probably one of the more stronger units on this team because there's just so much. There's a lot of experience at the top, and when they work it down to the bottom guys, it really helps. And I expect that unit to be, still top in this offense.
yeah. Do you have any hypothesis of why we didn't see Gums or Caleb Johnson or any of these freshmen that you think we would maybe see in an FCS game? But we didn't, and I mean they can play 4 and still redshirt. So I mean, any thought as to
We
why
did
we didn't
see
see
Blair. We
what?
saw
I'm sorry.
Blair split time. Gabe
Oh
Blair
yeah,
split
We
time
saw
at
Blair.
left.
Yeah, Blair's no longer
Yeah.
a freshman. Blair, yeah, he's no longer a freshman in my mind. But no, obviously I'm joking there. But yeah, obviously
Mhm.
we saw Blair, and I think we'll see a lot of Blair, which is great. But these other guys, especially Varkees, who's I've heard has just had a really good camp. I'm just surprised they just didn't put him in. I mean, we were up big, and but I mean they were, I don't know, they were. I feel like they played all the way up until like halfway through the fourth quarter, as far as like, man, we're playing real football here. We're not letting up. We're just, we're doing that. Maybe that was just from the standpoint of we need to get all the reps we can in with the people that we know we have to lean on this year. So I don't know, but any thought as to why we didn't see maybe some other guys that you think we might have?
Well, I mean, I think we saw the guys that the chart said. I mean, I was expecting, guys like Roderick Brown. He had a few snaps. He wasn't as big of a factor as he could have been, but or as I was thinking it was going to be. But he's still got significant playing time. It's more on the defensive side. I think it's harder with how they played last year to put the backups or the freshmen in because there's just so much uncertainty of what they're going to do. So I would say keeping it safe on defense without breaking any of the red shirts. I think we need all those guys for as long as possible because when you lose players like this year, we're going to lose Tyreek Davis. We're going to lose Michael Sanders. We're going to probably lose. We're going to lose and Katie Davis. So having those guys, I think redshirting, it's game experience does help, and we saw it with a lot of players. But with what the situation is right now, I think it was better to not see a lot of the freshmen out there because I don't. I just think it was better just to not see them out there because getting them redshirted and having them for longer, I think, is better in long term.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. The only thing is, again, I'm perplexed. I guess if they're not going to take advantage of any of the 4 games where they could play him and still redshirt him, I would think this would have been one of those games. But again, we'll see. Maybe we may need them for 4 games and still keep the red shirt, but down the stretch, it may be an actual need. So maybe, who knows? What are your thoughts on Torrey and the workload that he has currently? And yeah, I mean, again, this was an FCS school. I really was not trying to see him return every kick, return every punt. And I mean, do you think their plan is to keep him doing all of that as well as be the starting running back? And if so, what are your thoughts about it? If you do in fact think they're planning to do that?
I think they did this just to get him into the routine, the experience of what you're going to be doing a lot. I know it wasn't that good of a defense, got good of a really team in general, but he got to have the experience of doing what he has to do in the rest of the season, which is punts, kicks, and then starting running back, even getting catches in the flat. So I think it was good. I think that um, he's gonna have to. I feel like he's prepared for this. I feel like they prepared him over the off season. They had maybe a certain workout or whatever they did to get him to the level that he can do what he's doing now. So I feel like that's the reason why they're doing it. They know they rely on him. He's very reliable. I mean, he's one of the more reliable people we've had in the past few years. So I think he was fantastic, and I think that having him in that game for most of the time was very beneficial, I think, in the end, because he's going to get more reps and also he's going to get used to being in that role because you can't take out a player like that when you're, let's say, you're down 3 against UAB in 2 weeks and he's not on the field. So I think getting that experience and getting more of a workload is going to be really beneficial.
Right, right. And one thing I would like, I mean, you know, we didn't see a crazy amount from the receivers. I know there might have been some behind the scenes injuries that they're trying to, just we don't want to, get too many guys involved if they're nursing something or maybe not, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Torrey could be valuable also at that H back or that slot spot. So I would like to see either Isaiah Johnson or Kaika Ragsdale, maybe share a little bit more of that running back workload with Torrey, giving Torrey the opportunity to go into the slot or at the H-back position just to, again, like he's, the Torrey we saw when he played against Northwestern State on Saturday was, I've never seen that Torrey. And that was awesome. It was exciting. And, it just, he might be more valuable to us, not only as a running back, but, maybe 3/4 the time in the running back at the running back spot and the other 25%, get him involved in the passing game just because of his versatility. So that's something that we'll see if they're able to work that in and seeing what those younger backs can do as far as carrying the workload while he's not in the backfield. All right, so anything else we need to touch on the Northwestern State game before we shift over to a little bit of the SMU game?
I think we covered basically. I think it's just I think Bennett is going to have these guys really energized. I mean, we know that SMU's our rival, and they're embracing it right now. We've seen the
They
tweets, we've
sure
seen all of
are.
that stuff. I mean, saying the team from Denton, that's such a we know what happened with Michigan and Ohio State, all of that, but it's a different game, and also for Bennett, I mean, he was the head coach there for like 4 or 5 years, so I would
Yeah.
expect them to be really more motivated and angry about last year. I mean, last year was just a flat out embarrassment, and besides, the only person that really did anything was Jalen Darden. I mean, it was just a big embarrassment, and I feel like they are really motivated going into this game. And it's because it's in Dallas. I mean, why
Yeah.
would you not want to go there and just ruin their lives? 'Cause I would love to do that.
That'd be awesome, man. That would be awesome. I would, I really, CJ, I really like CJ who runs the fifth quarter account for SMU, but man, our conversations would be so much sweeter on my end if we, got one on him. But couldn't agree more. Okay, so moving into the SMU game, I'm going to go. Obviously, I picked us going 4-8. I feel like we do better whenever we're doubted. So I'm just going to keep on doubting us and hope for the best here. This is one I selected as one of those losses, and I think you did as well on your 8-5 prediction with a bowl win. If I remember your
Seven and
prediction,
six,
seven
seven and
and
six.
six,
Yeah,
7-6,
I
7 and
wasn't gonna
6.
go
Okay,
8 wins. I feel like that's a little bit
okay,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm assuming you also predicted this one as a loss, if I remember correctly. That being said, hopefully we win. Hopefully we shock them, and that'd be great. And I think it could very well happen. But if I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on it per se. So, assuming we don't win this game, what are you wanting to see? Let's say Jace Ruder goes out there and throws 2 picks like he did against Northwestern State. Are you wanting to see Ani come in? Are you wanting to stay with Ruder? What are your thoughts on this? And just like I said earlier, what are you wanting to see out of this game?
Well, I mean, we should have realistic expectations. I mean, just trying to improve and get out of the game injury free is something that I think is very more important than trying to really. I mean, winning the game is obviously the goal, but the expectation is we're not favored to win at all. We're 20. Uh, Average I've seen is like 22.5 point underdogs. So I really expect, and if Ruger has a bad day, I expect him to roll with them. And this is not, we're not back to last year where we're switching out after, the guy throws 2 picks. We're not going to do that again. I know I don't know, but I do hope and I pray that we're not going to be switching out quarterbacks like we
Agreed.
have been, because if that just, it just keeps on going and it's like a just a snowball downhill. So I think that seeing a consistent quarterback, seeing I guess just more of a complete game. Not getting physically dominated on both sides of the ball like we have been the past few years. It's been something that's really hurt us. But just trying to also just not getting embarrassed. I mean, they're really fast, they're physical, they're talented. But if we can't just do the fundamentals, the basics on defense and offense, I mean, it's just going to get ugly. I'd rather see a game where we do score and we lose, but we score a good healthy amount of touchdowns in regular periods, not in garbage time, and don't allow SMU to completely blow us out of the water on offense. And that also means secondary can't allow explosion plays, run game. We have to commit something. I mean, if you make them pass, they're going to run the ball. Bentley's very good at running. If you make them run, Mordecai's going to throw it into the end zone. So you have to pick your battles. Bennett really picked his battles with blitzes in the first game. So I'm really intrigued at what they do, but overall, just play the hardest you possibly can. Just don't get embarrassed. I don't expect them to really go out there and just flat out dominate. If they do, hey, that's great. But I just think
Yeah.
a more solid game than we've seen in the past few years is something that I think we should be aiming for. Of course,
Yeah.
aiming for winning is what we should do. But
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. Come game time, man, I'm thinking we're gonna win all the time. It's all that always
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
seriously. Um, so what I would like to see, I'd like to see our D line make things hard. Make it hard for Tanner to pass. Don't give him all the time in the world. I mean, yeah, they're gonna complete a lot of passes. I mean, their receivers are good. Tanner Mordecai is good. That's inevitable. Like I'm not implying that they're not going to get some good plays off in the passing game. Of course they will. But I want to see our D line. Let's not give him all day.
Mhm.
Let's let's make it hard for him. Let's not get a targeting goal, but you know, let's make him, let's hit him a couple times and
Yeah,
make it
Bennett's
not
going to be doing that. I know Bennett's his physicality
yeah,
trait is just going to want
yeah,
them and have them playing as hard as possible.
absolutely. Let's make it not fun on QB1 Tanner Mordecai, um, as good as he is. And again, let's try to minimize the big plays, which I mean, again, I think we're going to see some big plays. And to the North Texas fans, I mean, if after this game, don't jump off the ship just yet for this season. I mean, just regardless of what happens in this game, but let's try to minimize those big explosive plays in the runs and the pass. I do think a few will happen. It's just inevitable, but let's not make it the norm. Um, and on offense, I'm hoping we can take care of the football. Um, make smart plays. Um, again, I don't want to see Rooter out there just doing one read run and just doing all of that. But, if the passes aren't there and he can go get, 4 or 5 yards on a first or second down, and 10, go get it. And just let them know that, hey, you're an athlete, and which he is. And, just like to see some, that anyway. What's a score that you would be happy with, assuming we lose? Other than us winning, which we all want to win. But if we were to not win, what's something you like? Okay, that's respectable, I guess.
I would say probably anything under 50 points allowed and anything over, I guess 21. I mean, just something in that range is well, I would say over 30. I think the offense can definitely put up that much numbers, considering the offensive line has just been so more protective. last year was just last year we just didn't have enough time. Our defense was just not letting the offense get more time to prepare, and um, I don't want to. I hate giving score predictions. I really do.
Hmm.
I hate them, but I think anything under 50 and anything over about 25 is a solid game. It's not what I want. Of course, I want to win, but that's more acceptable than what we've had in the past few years. And I've looked it up. We haven't had really a close game. Neither team, whoever wins or loses, it's almost always a blowout. I think maybe
I know.
2006. 2006 maybe it was like 24-17. That was probably the closest it's been ever since like maybe the 70s with Hayden Fry. But it's so one day it has to be a close game, right? I mean, like down to the final second. One day it has to be like that. I hope that's this year, but we'll see. I just hope for a good game and us to still be competitive in the second half. That's been a problem. Just getting blown out in the first half, and you're just garbage time in the second half.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is the right approach. I mean, it's easy for us to coach from, the stands, but, maybe we run the ball and we let the clock run down, don't give them all the time in the world. Let's not hike the ball when there's 20 seconds left and, again, give them the most time possible to score. But, from the passing game, I'd like to see, Reuter have maybe a slightly more improved game. And that's a kind of a tall order. I mean, you want him to have a better game against SMU than you did an FCS game or an FCS team. That would be, I think, a big accomplishment if he can get that completion up a tad bit and keep it to, more than 2 INTs and at least 1 TD, if not more, through the air. And, just make his presence felt, which I think he definitely has the ability to do that. And, just send us into conference play with some stuff to look forward to. And again, coming out injury free, I think is tremendously important, especially at that running back position. And but I think it's going to be a fun game. I know you're going to be out there, right? You're going out there, and
Oh
I
yeah.
know a lot of the Mean Green fans will be out there, and it's going to be fun. And you know what? Who knows? Who really knows? I mean, what? I mean, you and I would jump on here a couple of times. We don't know. They might go out there and just say, you know what, screw it, and they might beat them. I mean, could you imagine having this conversation this time next week after a win over SMU? That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. My entire prediction for the season would be totally flipped. That statement can be made against the next few of our games as well. So we definitely have a lot of opportunities to do some big things with as tough as our schedule is. So, I mean, I think it's very exciting, a lot to look forward to. And again, come game time, I know personally, I think I'm going to be thinking we can win somehow, some way. But really, Miles, anything else we need to touch on before we hop off?
I mean, I just want to see the SMU people on Twitter just be quiet. I mean, no, not right now because I
They will
love
never be
doing this right now.
quiet.
But during the game, like just them getting mad. I just want us to be just really proving them wrong, because they say it's not a rivalry, but really, I mean, if you're calling us NTSU, but you say it's not a rival, I mean, we're still a rival. Come on, but that would be the best thing, just to shut them up. That would
Yeah.
just it would make my day. It would make my year. I would say screw the rest of the football season. Maybe SMU. That's all I care about. And yeah, people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's your Super Bowl." Yeah, it's our Super Bowl. Like a guy like who's literally prime right now. Pony Up Doc. Oh, if we could ever shut him up, oh man, that would be great because he's all on my page, and it just putting up a good performance and just making the SMU feel uncomfortable going in the second half. It's all about just how you start. If they start off bad again, I don't see them getting back in that game because once you get in a hole on the road, it's really hard to get out of that. So I'm just very excited. I love playing this game. I love all the interactions and all the time I get to spend talking trash to the SMU fan base. So.
Absolutely. It's the blue collar, white collar bowl. And playing Southern
That's
Money
very true.
University. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
um, but hey, yeah, that'd be awesome to go in there and give
Mm-hmm.
them a little humble pie. But well, all right, Miles. Once again, thank you so much for jumping on, and I know you got a full plate, and with the Firing Boomer podcast, everybody go check that out as well. Him and Carter just got that out tonight as a Monday night, and so that's out now, or that'll be out by the time this video is out. And yeah, go check that out and go Mean Green.
Go Mean Green.